Thanks for joining me, guys. Today we're going to do a combination of a unboxing, a scale upgrade and installation, and a quick review. We're going to be looking at one of my favorite small knives of all time. So let's go ahead and get into it. I like to carry these knives as secondary knives, so long comboed with a larger knife. So here we have, I'm sure everyone can recognize this very easily. This is the Civivi Baby Banter. I've had this knife for almost 2 years, kind of waiting for something to do with it. The reason it is sat in the box this whole time, once again, we always get lots of stickers, cleaning cloth, a little silica dry pack, and of course the zipper pouch. One of the reasons is I have several, right out of the box, never been opened, very smooth, needs a little breaking in, good action, nice. Okay, so one of the reasons it's been sitting there for 2 years is that I have several others. My first Baby Banter, I upgraded this with unlocked composite carbon fiber scales, as well as changing the thumb stud to one of the Glow Rhino thumb studs in green. And this has been one of my favorite carries, secondary to a Banter, a regular Banter, not the Baby, which also has the unlocked composite scales. And then a little further down the road, I picked up this one. This is a secondary carry to a Boker that has a red and black Damascus. This is in the S35 VN steel, so I haven't really done anything to this except add the lanyard, but boy, I really enjoy carrying both of these. So my first Banter was this one that has just sat in that box throughout the last 2 years. So with the excitement of what we're going to be doing today, Flytanium released a pair of titanium scales for this knife that I've been keeping an eye on, thinking about picking up. Hadn't really made a final decision on it until very recently. I picked up a Delica through the Blade forums and ordered these titanium scales via Northwest Lynch. Lynch Northwest. And as soon as I did, this has become one of my favorite primary carries, but I wanted to have a good little secondary knife to carry with it. So once I saw the scales that were released for this Baby Banter, I started really thinking about it hard. So here we are. Here is our scales. Wow. Those are fantastic. They have a little bit of kind of a texture, or I don't want to call it jimping, but a texture here in the contoured grooves. Wow, this is going to be nice. This I'm really excited about, and I think it's going to be a fantastic secondary carry to this. Now, I know some people are going to think, oh my gosh, you're putting titanium scales onto a Nitro V blade. That's okay, because in these knives that have a significant investment in terms of the scales, I like them to have a blade steel that still keeps me mentally in a user perspective. So although this kit was fairly expensive for the Delica, this is a VG10. So I am more than happy to carry this and use it as a user. And if down the road I want to upgrade the steel, I can pick up another Delica that's got a nicer blade steel and upgrade it. But at this point, this allows me not to resist the use of the knife. So again, with the Nitro V, similar to here, where the scales cost as much as the knife, I use this knife constantly because I'm not trying to protect that blade. It doesn't have a cost to it that gives me a fear of using it. The S35VN, similar. I mean, I know it's a higher grade steel, but one of my favorite steels. And so again, I haven't used it as much. And again, you get that a little bit of resistance the more investment there is in the steel. So by putting the Nitro V into these titanium, then as long as I take care of the scales, I can always upgrade the metal later down the road should I choose to. Plus, I thought that that stonewash blade will look really, really nice. Oh yeah, without a doubt, that's going to be great. So I am going to pause this and then take it down close, do a full breakdown, dismantle, then I'll come back, we'll look at the innards, then we'll put it back together and see how it feels. All right, guys, thanks. Okay, so here we are. We have it all broken down. Pretty easy. I think somebody jacked a lot of, I mean, look at all that Loctite in there. That is no, I have no idea if you can see that well or not, or if it's focusing, but man, it is just caked in. But for the most part, fairly easy disassembly. You can see they have on the show side, they have a full scale liner where the liner lock is. And then on the pivot side or the whatever. Okay, on the, so that's the non-show side. This is the show side, at least for a right-hander. They just have these two small inserts. They're related to the pivot and the back spacers for support. So as you can see, these fit in very nicely into the titanium scales. So it looks like pretty good. I mean, there's a little bit of shift there. These are going to fit nicely, I believe. I'm going to clean them up before I put them in, but it looks like everything fits. So unlike the Delica, which the liners that were in the FRM of the Delica, you did not use those with the Lynch Northwest scales. So those were eliminated. In this case, we will be using the liners inside of the TI scales. So I'm just going to do a little cleanup and then we'll start putting this together. Okay? Thanks, guys. Okay, so we have everything cleaned up and we're ready to install. While we're talking, I'm going to use a little bit of tough cloth just to clean some of the innards here to give them a little protection against corrosion. And a couple things I noticed that I thought were interesting. One is that the T8 torque access for the pivot is actually on this side instead of on the screw side. I found that interesting. I'm not sure if the other ones that I've done, I just don't remember if they're all like that. It's a little unusual in that typically the way that I will get the pivot screws clean is by using a Torx bit, attaching it to the pivot, and then put it into a cloth and twist back and forth till I get it clean. I wasn't able to do that. You have to do it all manually by hand, and that's fine. It was just, I just was caught a little bit by surprise by it. But everything cleaned up pretty nicely, and I think we're ready to put this back together. So we'll take it down to high speed one more time, and then we'll talk about it here shortly. Thank you, guys. Okay, so here we are. We've our reassembly has been done. Spent a little time doing centering, Again, I mentioned earlier the fact that the screw is on the logoed side of this pivot made it a little bit interesting. And again, I won't know till I take one of the others apart whether or not that's typical. As I mentioned earlier on the fit and finish, the texturing they put on the contours, and you can see they placed it along here on the blade side as well as on the spine side, and I just noticed they also have it here at the end. Right? That's pretty fantastic. It feels really good. I would imagine if you go up here into a pinch grip, that adds a little bit. Here, you can feel it. I mean, I'm not sure how functional it is, but it is having a little bit of texture on these smooth TI scales. One concern is they do not have a TI clip yet. I have reached out to both Knafs. I got a response they were not aware of a TI replacement clip that would fit the cutout that is on the Baby Banters. I also reached out to Casey at Lynch Northwest, trying to find out. So for example, they do tons of TI clips for lots of blades. They do have a TI clip. Both Civivi and Lynch Northwest has one that is designed for the Elementums or the large banter, where the clip rides flush on top of the scales, but not one with the cutout. So as of right now, I just have the Stonewash steel clip, the stainless clip, and that's okay. I just, I'm going to continue my search. Knafs specifically said, let us know if you find one. So apparently, if they're not aware, I suspect nobody has one. Now, in terms of the TI scales for the Baby Banter, the Flytanium is the only one I've been able to find. There may be someone else doing TI scales, but I think your options are fairly limited. My only small complaint with these scales might be that the cutout, the space that allows you for the reaching the liner lock, I think is much better with the Unlock Composites, which actually specifically marketed a version that had that right hand access. There's a little cutout, but it's more typical of what you find on the original, maybe even less on the original Baby Banter, because you can see this one has really good access, but maybe a little bit more similar to what I found on the original full-size Banter, which was a fairly narrow, but it works fine. I think that's nitpicking, but would it have been nice if this was cut back just a hair further? I think so. Anyway, I think this is going to be an excellent secondary carry. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's going to be a secondary carry to go with my Delica that has the Lynch Northwest TI scales. And I think this is going to be really nice. And another reminder, yes, I'm aware that the scales cost more than the whole knife, and yes, this is Nitro V steel for the blade, but similar to, as I said, with the VG10 on the Delica, that will allow me to feel completely comfortable using this as a user, not trying to preserve the blade and not mark up the blade, and so less of a collectible and more of a user piece. And then down the road, I can always upgrade the steel of the blade should I wish to, the S35EN, or realistically, I'm holding out for them to do like a 20 CV, or what would be really nice would be if they did Magna Cut. So anyway, very happy with this. Overall, it's running very smooth. Once I got the pivot tension just right, got the centering just right. Oh, they even have a little bit, that texturing runs all the way back to the base of the spine. Look at that. That's fantastic. So there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that helps if anyone's interested in upgrading their Baby Banter to a little bit more elegant, or a good secondary carry with a higher end knife. And please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video so you can see all the content. Take care. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today, and hit that subscribe button. See you soon.